Today on your Fashion Forward, we're talking about something a little different. Influencers. They pride themselves on the perfect photo, whether that means a quick Facetune or maybe using Photoshop. But the appearance to the consumer, that's almost nearly perfect, always flawless. But for some, that is about to change. The UK is planning to follow Norway's lead with a bill to put a logo on the photos that have been digitally altered, all in an attempt to combat body dysmorphia. Here to dig in a little more details, stylist and author Heather Newberger. Hi, Heather. So,
hey, Natalie.
The reason for the bill, very serious. Can you tell us why the UK is taking these actions?
Absolutely. And it's kind of a little ironic that I'm smiling because I think it is super important that they're doing this. And one can only hope that the US will follow their lead. When we're talking about body dysmorphia, we're really seeing so many young women, specifically ages 17 and under, who are looking at their bodies and just feeling like crap because they are not living up to these sort of unrealistic standards that we're seeing from our influencers. And of course, influencing is a really new aspect of social media. So we are still all kind of trying to get a grapple of what that looks like when it comes to advertising, but especially, in spaces where we are looking at companies that are hiring people, et cetera, it's really important that we're seeing real images. When we're trying to relate to quote unquote real people, we need to see them in front of us. So I think it's really important the UK is taking this step, and hopefully we'll only see more and more movement in this.
Yeah, and how, though, is something like this going to be enforced? What kind of changes in the images are we really talking about here?
I mean, this is unfortunately the hardest part. As you mentioned, there's going to be a logo that's going to be added to them, which I think is really great. If you're able to see something that says, hey, this has been digitally altered or retouched, that's really great. But unfortunately, that's only going to be for images that will offer paid promotion or are, sponsoring their influencers. So just everyday people can still, much like that image, take their faces and really turn them into something else entirely. So unfortunately, whereas it's kind of starting to become a possibility to share this sort of thing with paid influencers through sponsored posts, if you're talking about your friend or your next door neighbor, it might not be for a long time.
Yeah, and we certainly are moving, finally, I think, in a way that is a little more body positive on social media. But the truth is, so many people still use these photo edits. Do you think that we will ever fully get to a place of transparency when it comes to things on social media?
What I think is that the way we operate with social media is really interesting because we're not necessarily just performing for others. We're actually really performing for ourselves. We're putting up on our grids and in our feeds how we want to be presenting ourselves to ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I think as soon as we're able to really embrace the person that we are, just like down to the body and the core of that person, back to when we were talking about body liberation the other day, when we get to that space with ourselves, I think that's when we're going to start seeing some real change. We can actually bring it from inside outside into the real world.
Yeah, absolutely right. Starts from within. Takes a long process, but this maybe will help young girls not get to that point later in life and see some images that really reflect who they are. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
All right, everyone, make sure you're tuning in every Friday here to talk about fashion and to talk with Heather. And of course, in the meantime, hit her up on Instagram. That's at Heather Newberger. Also, go out right now and get her book, How to Date Your Wardrobe.